another episode of the Cover 4 podcast brought to you by WTK's Rock Solid Sports here in our podcast studio. Back again after winter break. It's Bryson Wright, Jack Foster, Riley Haltom. I'm Joseph Bonanno, and it's championship weekend in the NFL. We are all the way 3 games left as we get ready for the Super Bowl. But first, we got to get there with these last 4 teams remaining. We haven't been here in a while. But we've kept, our picks and our locks going, even though we haven't been able to actually make the podcast, but we have been keeping it up. So it's the Eagles, the Niners, the Chiefs, the Bengals, all like we expected in the AFC and NFC championship games. And those are the 4 teams that are going to compete for a spot to go to the Super Bowl, which is being held in Arizona this year, correct?
Yeah.
And so those teams will battle out to try and get a trip to Arizona and for that Lombardi trophy. But first, how you guys doing? Been a while.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Very well. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Doing good. Fun playoff matchup so far. The wild card weekend was great. I think that was one of the best set of wild card games that we've had in a long time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The divisional round, it was all right. There were a couple okay games. Nothing that really stood out as, oh, this game was great. Defensive battle between the Cowboys and the Niners. It was a close game, not really exciting game for the Jags Chiefs. Obviously the injury with Mahomes was the big story there, but then a couple blowouts there with the Giants and the Bengals and the Bills, which were some surprises, at least for the Bills, especially with everything going on in that realm. But let's jump into it. You guys want to start with AFC or NFC?
AFC.
All right, let's start with the AFC. It's the Bengals and the Bills. And the Chiefs. And the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, his 5th straight AFC championship game. Joe Burrow, his 2nd straight AFC championship game. And this kind of feels like the new Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it feels like the NFL media over the last couple of years has been like, Allen Mahomes, the new greatest rivalry, in the NFL that we're going to get to witness for years to come. I think it's Burrow versus Mahomes. And
definitely.
I feel like this playoffs is finally proving that. I mean, you can't deny the Bengals anymore or Joe Burrow. Back-to-back AFC championship appearances. We'll see if they can make it back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. And guys, Joe Burrow's 3-0 against Mahomes. So, Mahomes has the most to prove, arguably, in this matchup, which is crazy to think.
The
guess
whole
technically he does.
quarterback versus quarterback.
I think he does.
Look,
He already won a Super Bowl, though.
Listen, quarterback versus quarterback is so stupid.
Yeah.
Burrow ain't out there throwing against Mahomes. Mahomes ain't out there in coverage.
Okay,
it's not Burrow beating Mahomes.
Yeah.
It's Burrow beating the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs losing to the Bengals.
Of course. Obviously.
For anyone, I just want to settle this right now. For anyone thinking that Joe Burrow is a better quarterback, he's top 2. He's number 2. He's not better. He's not better than Mahomes. Just because his record is
he's better
great,
quarterback. I don't think he's a better football player.
Just because that doesn't make any sense. That is the dumbest argument. That is the dumbest argument. He's not out there, returning kicks, returning punts, punting the ball, kicking field goals.
Patrick Mahomes makes better plays, and he's a better playmaker, and I think he's more valuable as an NFL player. But as far as a legit passer and just stripping down the quarterback, I think Joe Burrow's better.
How is Mahomes a better player but not the better quarterback? That doesn't make sense, man.
What do you watch him play? He does.
They play the same position.
Patrick Mahomes has no comp. We've never seen anybody like Patrick Mahomes. He's a unicorn, so he is better as an NFL player. And so, I guess I see the argument where you say he's a better quarterback. But as far as the definition of quarterback and passer, pocket passer, making throws,
but that's
I think Joe Burrow is better. And he's winning.
Patrick Mahomes is changing the definition of what a quarterback is in the NFL. He's setting a new standard.
I guess, but I still don't think there's anybody like Patrick Mahomes. People can try.
Maybe not, but that's what's going on here. He is the best quarterback in the NFL because he plays the quarterback position.
And he's
how
a better
he
player.
does.
No question.
And yes, he's the better player.
Because he's the better quarterback because he's the better player.
I see what you're saying, and that's fine. But I just think if you strip the quarterback down all the way to the nuts and bolts,
if you go with the traditional definition, then yes, you have an argument there.
I mean, if I'm drafting a team, I'm taking Mahomes over Burrow. But I'm just saying, if you strip it all the way down, I'm going to trust Burrow to make some throws more than I would Mahomes. That's just all I'm saying. I'm not going to trust Burrow to make the play, but I'm going to trust him to make this throw.
I'm so lost right now.
I see what you're trying to
I get
say.
what you mean, but it just doesn't.
I see what you're trying
two
to say.
See, it's not like we're comparing a wide receiver and a quarterback, or a tight end and a defensive end, or two different positions. They play the exact same position. Yeah, they play it two different ways, and just because one's more traditional while one's more modern and a unicorn, like you said, Mahomes is. But it doesn't matter. They're both really good quarterbacks. They're 1 and 2. Mahomes is clearly 1 right now in terms of you look at stats, you look at accomplishments. Mahomes is 1. He's been in the league longer, so of course he's going to be better.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow has every chance to change that and the next.
Yeah. So what if
years.
Burrow wins this game, wins the Super Bowl, and then beats Mahomes again next year? What are we saying?
You see, you keep saying that beats Mahomes. He's not beating Mahomes.
And he beats the Chiefs. Fine.
Beats the Chiefs. If he wins back-to-back Super Bowls, sure.
Back-to-back AFC championships and wins the Super Bowl. Yeah.
If he does that, then I still don't know if I'm calling him the best quarterback, because the stats, if you go just off stats, Mahomes is still benefited by that in terms of, yards per game, touchdowns per year, stuff like that.
Well, I'm never want to be one to take anything away from Mahomes. He's a fantastic player. And as I said, I would rather have him on my football team than Joe Burrow. I guess I got too far down the road of just what a quarterback is and how I think Joe Burrow is better in that way.
All we learned from from last weekend is that Josh Allen is not in the top 2. Yeah, that's all we needed to know. And the top 2 are playing in the AFC Championship game, and this is going to be a really good game because let's start off with the big story. Mahomes, high ankle sprain. He suffered against Jaguars. Obviously, he made that throw off the one leg that everyone took crazy.
And this is the thing: if there's anybody that would only need one leg and could still probably get it done. Because even what Jack is trying to say, when you're talking about a unicorn, he's the only dude that I think could actually throw off one leg and be just as effective. Yeah. And it felt like when you were watching that other game, it was the first couple, they were kind of short. And then he was like, oh, okay, I just got to adjust. And then all of a sudden he was throwing dots again after 2 or 3 throws, it felt like. So now that he's had a week to kind of learn where his body is and what he can really do, I think he's actually going to be better than he was at the end of that game. And also, I'm sure that they've had him resting and ice, whatever.
I don't know. He was out there. He was out there running around on the practice field on Wednesday.
Yeah, so, but he has to do some stuff, just to make sure.
Can't let it tighten up.
That's what I'm saying. He needs to learn what he can actually do. You know what I mean? Okay, I can't make that throw without putting too much pressure, or I can't do this without putting that's the kind of stuff that he needs to do going into the week. Obviously, they're not going to put him in pads or anything, but
yeah. Well, let's break this game down. Obviously, we have our quarterback breakdown. You have Mahomes, you have Burrow, 1 and 2, however you want to order them. They're the best quarterbacks, but they're not all this game is. When you look at the Chiefs this year, they were supposed to take a step back. They obviously lose Tyreek Hill. They lose a couple other pieces on their defense. They're supposed to take a step backwards. So, they're not as talented as they have been in years past, but it doesn't matter to them because they've still played at that Chiefs level. They've still had an elite offense. I think they had a top 3 scoring offense.
Because they added an offensive player of the year candidate.
Shut up.
Oh my God.
Shut up.
Boo.
Shut up. Is what, 1 reception a game?
No. I've actually
hold up.
During our logs, I've picked the over on his receptions 3 times, and it's hit every time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're at 2.5.
He has 14
Maybe
catches
it was
this year.
at 2.5, but
by the way,
he hasn't played in 14 games.
Yeah.
But
he did. Okay. I will say he did have the second most receptions on the team in the first playoff game the Chiefs played. So
there you go.
Shout out Kadarius Toney, I guess. Congratulations.
Yeah.
5 receptions, 36 yards.
But when I think of these two teams, I think of offense. You look on the other side, you think defense. And that's kind of how I break down the both conferences. AFC is more of that offensive, gonna overpower you, with scoring. The other side, the NFC, that's your defensive conference. They're gonna slow you down. They're gonna stop you. Low scoring, hard hitting, hard nosed games. That's kind of what the NFC reminds me of. And if you look at the 4 teams left, look at the Eagles and the Niners. Those defenses are the top 2 defenses in the NFL. You look at the Chiefs and Bengals; those are 2 top offenses in the NFL. And so I figured right now, since those are the two of the top offenses, let's break down their offense and figure out which one is actually better and which one gives their team a better chance to win. Now, if you look at pure roster, I think we all know who has the better roster. It's the Bengals. I mean, look at that wide receiver trio: Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Plus, you had Hayden Hurst at tight end. You got Joe Mixon at running back. Now, the thing that kind of hurts you, and P. Ryan, Samanji P. Ryan. The thing that kind of hurts you about the Bengals is that offensive line. And we've seen the offensive line be the weak part in the playoffs. I mean, look at that game look at last year, 9 sacks against the Titans. They still ended up winning that game. Then you look at this year against the Ravens. Joe Burrow was getting hit and pressure all game against the Ravens.
I'll say, and going back to last year too, if the Bengals had a better offensive line, they probably would have won the Super Bowl.
Probably.
Because Jamar Chase got open on that last play, but Burrow got hit. So it's like, dude, if he would have had another half a second, they probably could have won the Super Bowl. So, and it's wild to think that still is an issue. Like, they're going to have to address that issue at some point, especially now, because, you know, you got to do what you can when Burrow is still on his rookie deal, because in a couple of years, he's going to be getting paid like the quarterback that he is.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny because they're going to have to, like you say, they're going to have to capitalize on now because they're not going to be able to pay Jamar and Burrow and T. Higgins.
Yeah, T is the big one, though.
Tyler Boyd. I mean,
they'll try their hardest to keep Burrow and Chase.
Yeah.
Oh, no, those are the two guys.
And then the rest of the things will just kind of fade away.
And then I think
this is their window, man. They're all on cheap deals. You know, they're young. They're playing great. You got to hit it now.
Yep.
And the teams are doing this. Like, I think if there's one takeaway from this season, it's that you can win. It's that it's great to have an ensemble of great players and then get that young quarterback, because Hurts, Purdy, Burrow, all on rookie deals. You know, Mahomes is the only one that's made it this far that is actually getting paid crap ton of dollars.
And the thing about Mahomes is, if you look at his offense, though, I mean, they have Travis Kelce, but their receiving core is not the same level that the Bengals have, right? But when you have a guy that's as good as Mahomes is, it's like he makes up for a lot of it. So like you gotta make sure, if you got a guy like Mahomes, like you can have Juju Smith-Schuster basically be your wide receiver one, and you can be okay.
Yeah.
Especially, well, I guess Travis Kelce's really the wide receiver one. Like,
really the wide receiver.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
but like you can get away with it when you have arguably, a lot of people will say, the greatest tight end ever. And then you have who I think is the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. I don't know about y'all, but just pure talent, he seems like he's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
In this matchup, again, we were talking about these offenses, and I've seen a lot of, you know, the national media kind of play this game. So I figured I'd ask y'all, who is your top 5 offensive players from this game?
From Chiefs Bengals?
Yeah. Starting from 5 to 1.
Oh, well, can I do 1 to 5?
I guess you want to do 1 to 5.
Because it's easier for me that way. I'll take Jamar 1.
Yeah, not including quarterbacks.
Right.
Not including quarterbacks.
When you said Jamar 1,
skill players. Skill players.
So I'll take Chase 1. As far as impact on the game, I'm going to take Kelce 2.
I'll take Kelce 1, Jamar 2. I'd put Kelce first, just because
I'm going Kelce too, because I mean, that connection between Kelce and Mahomes is unlike anything you've ever seen. It's better than the connection betwing Burrow and Jamar.
And that's saying a lot, because those two are like locked in.
And
it's very close. Like, I'm not saying you're crazy for putting Jamar first.
That's like a 1 or 2.
Yeah. Like, but I think those like clear 1 and 2, Jamar Chase and Travis Kelce.
All right, I got my 5.
All right, so we got like the 1 and 2. I think it's kind of.
I'm going Chase, Kelce, T, Joe Mixon, Jerick McKinnon, top 5.
Jerick McKinnon, top 5. I like that because he's kind of turned it on late these last few weeks.
Yeah, and I could put Isaiah Pacheco in that 5 slot as well. It really just depends on how the game goes. Like, if they're doing well against, you know, screens and stuff, Jerick McKinnon won't get a lot of play, and Pacheco could run down their throat. I don't know. I just feel like this is more a McKinnon game. So that's how I put it 5. But those Chiefs running backs are pretty interchangeable for me.
I think right now, just how he's been used in the playoffs, I think Hayden Hurst could sneak into that 5. Just based off playoffs, just how he's been used. And look, I think about that Bills game last week, and I know it's one game, and I know you're not supposed to make assumptions on one game, but how he was able to get open because, and this is another argument for Jamar. One, the Bills had so much attention on Jamar, especially on those short passes, those
like
screen, and every time that they faked something to Jamar, Hayden Hurst was able to just sneak right behind the defense, and then boom, he was open. I think about that touchdown there down in the red zone. I mean, he was wide open. It was just Joe Burrow putting it on him, turn around, caught it in the corner of the end zone, and you have a touchdown. And he's not going to put up the stats. He's not going to put up like the eye-popping Travis Kelce stats in terms of tight end. But
definitely
having that weapon that's not really seen as a weapon, I mean, that is dangerous in the playoffs. And it's dangerous when you have guys around them like T. Higgins, like Jamar Chase, like Tyler Boyd, like Joe Mixon.
Yeah, and I also think that one of the reasons why Jamar Chase it's like the other weapons around him almost give him a better chance to be the best skill position than Travis Kelce in this. Like I see that side of it too. I'll still put Kelce one, but I think if you're saying Jamar is the best, it's because of the other guys around him and how much attention he draws.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to double team Travis Kelce, like no offense to like Juju Smith-Schuster and even Kadarius Toney, like most teams, you're okay with leaving those guys one-on-one. Like you can get away with it. But when it comes to the Bengals, you double Jamar and you're leaving T. Higgins in one-on-one coverage, and
that's just dangerous.
It's dangerous,
dangerous,
and it just opens up their offense so much.
Yeah, I've got almost an identical list to Jack, except with a different 5. I'm going Jamar, Kelce, T, Mixon, and then I'm going to go put Hurst at 5.
Okay.
I just got a notification on ESPN. Apparently, the line, I think, is flipped now. Kansas City is now favored by 1.5.
So, yeah, it was Bengals -1, then it was Chiefs -1. Now it's Chiefs -1.5.
Yeah, so it looks like Chiefs are going to walk into this game as the straight-up favorite.
Rightfully so.
By a very slim margin, but
yeah, I like
still the favorite.
So I'll go ahead and say I'm picking the Chiefs at the end of the day. Whoever got those Chiefs +1 odds, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals actually. I just wait. Did you do your top 5? You need to do your top 5 position players.
I was gonna do Kelce, Jamar. I like T at 3. I'm gonna go
T Mixon
at 4, Hurst at 5.
So I guess me just flipped one into like we said they are.
Yeah.
They're very
I don't know. It's so difficult for the Chiefs just because they don't really have.
They use a lot.
Yeah, they use so many guys.
Close.
Like you could really just if you put the 5 spot as like the Chiefs running backs combined between Pacheco and McKinnon, like you were saying, if you could put them together, I'd probably put them. But I'll probably go Hurst.
Can I put Andy Reid as
right? Yeah.
Andy
I mean,
Reid.
he's what makes that offense go.
But
maybe Juju, but
yeah.
Maybe
I'm
not.
taking all 3 wide receivers on the Bengals over Juju.
Yes.
I would take Tyler Boyd over Juju.
I feel like Tyler Boyd and Juju are about the same.
I would still take Tyler Boyd.
Yeah,
over
they're
Juju.
about on the same level.
I'm still taking Tyler Boyd over Juju.
In that same field.
That's a tough one.
I don't think it's going to end up mattering in this type of game. But here, tell you what matters is if the Bengals offensive line doesn't absolutely fall apart. They did well in their divisional game against the Bills. And as long as the Bengals defense keeps playing like they're playing, because they've been playing lights out. And it was the most underrated part of Cincinnati last postseason. And they're balling yet again. They were the reason they beat the Ravens. They shut down Josh Allen and the Bills to 10 points. Like, they have just been playing incredible, man. And if they can, attack a hobbled Mahomes and limit their running backs from beating him, and especially, of course, Travis Kelce in the middle of the field, man, this could be another 2-score victory. It really could.
DJ Reader.
Yeah, that line, DJ Reader, Hendrickson, Hubbard, and BJ Hill, those 4.
How about Sam Hubbard, the 98-yard touchdown?
Very underrated.
That was awesome.
And then they have the Patrick Beverly of the NFL, Eli Apple.
Eli Apple.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love that. The Patrick Beverly of the NFL.
That is who he is.
Eli Apple is crazy.
The perfect
Dude,
comparison.
did you see his mom going after Emmanuel Acho too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like she called him an NFL intern. I was like, dang.
Wow.
Like
God,
so
you
you do not mess with the entire Apple family on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'm
I'm
not talking about like Apple. I'm talking about Eli Apple, not the phone.
Yeah.
Let's get it right. But yeah.
So you pick Chiefs, you pick Bengals. I'm going Bengals just because Patrick Mahomes is not going to be at 100%.
Mhm.
And this isn't, listen, no offense to the Jaguars. They had a great run to end the season. This isn't the Jaguars.
Right.
You're going to have to keep up with that offense. That defense is playing lights out right now. Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, all those guys on the line, they're going to get after you. And we've seen when teams get after Mahomes, he, obviously
he has
can
to escape the pocket.
He has to.
You're right.
He has to use his legs. He has to use that weird, kind of
Unicorn
magic
energy. Yeah, the
unicorn ability he has that we haven't seen from anybody. And if he's not on if he doesn't have two healthy ankles, if he's running at 70% and he's having to move a lot, I don't know if Mahomes is going to be, effective enough to take the Chiefs over the top and put them over the Bengals. I don't know. Does Patrick Mahomes have the ability to do that? Hell yes, he does. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. He's the most talented player that I've ever seen with my eyes in terms of playing that position. But an injury is an injury. A high ankle sprain is nothing to joke about. It's nothing to say, oh, no, he'll be fine.
I mean,
it's
an automatic 4 to 6 week miss in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, it is a painful injury to play on. And so if anyone can do it, it's Patrick Mahomes. I just think he's going to have a tough time. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think it'd be one score, 10 points at the maximum, I think. I think it'll be if it's more than 10 points, I will be shocked.
Right.
But I think I'm going to go Bengals just because Patrick Mahomes is at 100% and just how locked in Burrow and then that Bengals defense has been these past 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm also going to go with Cincy, barely, kind of like Joseph was saying. This is probably the hardest game I've had to pick all season because you have defensive player of the year candidate and very deservingly so, Chris Jones on that Chiefs defensive line. He is a monster, and against a Bengals offensive line that historically has not been great, it's pretty terrifying to pick Burrow in that situation. But he's done it before. He's done it with less, and I think he can get it done against the Chiefs. Who
also, you want to talk about Burrow getting pressured and against the Bills. I think one of the biggest reasons that they put up the number or their offense looked the way it did is the way Burrow uses legs. I mean, if you saw him, that first touchdown to Jamar, he got pressured. He ran up to the pocket. He was at the line of scrimmage and just kind of that little jump pass right over the top, right in that zone. And Jamar was there, caught it, and then able to use his speed to get in. If Burrow can do that, and he can kind of use escapability and mobility in the pocket, Chiefs are going to have a tough time, in my opinion. But if they get some hits on him, I mean, they'll be able to stop him.
And it's funny because
Burrow's playing like that. I don't know.
Mahomes did like almost an identical pass to that, didn't he? Like a little jump pass.
Yeah, but he did on one.
Yeah.
He did it on the hurt leg.
Yeah, he did on the hurt leg.
It was pretty much the exact same play. If I remember, I think Burrow threw it a little further, but
those two.
Yeah, I mean, these two quarterbacks.
Insane. Yeah.
This game is gonna be so good.
Do we agree that the winner of this game wins the Super Bowl?
No,
not necessarily.
Really?
I can't.
Because if the 49ers make it, I think that defense is just so good.
Man, I feel like
I don't know if
kind
they'll
of a
win
lock.
it. I don't know if they'll win it. I feel like they're going to be the favorite. The AFC is going to be the favorite to win it, in my opinion. But I don't know if they're a lock.
I don't care who wins the NFC game. I don't care who wins this game. The AFC is winning the Super Bowl. That's how I look at it.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying that's a crazy. I'm not ready to say that I'll lock it in.
I pick them as a favorite.
Yeah,
easily.
favorite for sure.
Unless Mahomes and the Chiefs barely win this game and Mahomes gets even more injured,
hurt,
and then they play the 49ers, then I could see the Niners winning that.
Chad Henne coming in, Super Bowl MVP.
Don't believe in Philadelphia, huh?
I feel like the Eagles could definitely beat the Niners, but then they'll just
they just beat the Giants 38-7.
It's the Giants. Oh my God! How many times I gotta tell you about the Giants? And if you tell me they beat the Vikings one more time, they played the second worst defense
they put up
in the
7 points, and the Eagles put up 38.
Dude, Daniel Jones turned back into a pumpkin. By the way,
offense,
you called it.
That offense isn't
the second worst defense against the Vikings, and Daniel Jones was not going to do that against the Eagles.
I just don't see Jalen Hurts and Sirianni winning the Super Bowl this early. I just don't see it happening. It'll be a very awesome thing to see them make it to the Super Bowl, but they'll lose too.
I think they could.
Let's talk about this NFC Championship game. We've broken down the AFC Championship game. The NFC Championship game, I think, is a little more intriguing, but not because of the quarterbacks. I think it's just because how these teams are built. Both of them have pieces everywhere, offensively and defensively. I mean, the way they've built these teams, they should be in the NFC Championship
From top
game.
to bottom,
good.
From top to bottom, I think the NFC might have better rosters. On both
Oh,
sides.
yeah, sure. If you
yeah.
include
From
defense,
top to bottom,
if you
and
include
the
defense,
defense,
oh
yeah.
hell yeah! I mean,
But
let's
it's
start
crazy that both of y'all still, but the AFC is probably still going to be the favorite just
Yeah.
because of offense.
I mean, let's just look at the 49ers defense. You got two of the best linebackers in Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. You got a great defensive line that is highlighted by probably going to be the defensive player of the year himself, Nick Bosa. You have a really strong secondary, which is actually their weak point of that defense. If you look at it, the secondary is actually their weaker point. But it's got Jimmy Ward. They have a what's the other?
Ufanga.
Yeah,
the Afro guy.
yeah. But the offense as well. You look at the 49ers offense. They add McCaffrey. They're 12-0 since they added McCaffrey onto that offense. Undefeated. They have George Kittle, the second best tight end in the league right now behind Kelsey, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You have Debo. You have Ayuk. You have Jawan Jennings.
Elijah Mitchell.
Trent
Williams.
Trent Williams probably
Awesome.
a top 3 tackle in the league
freaking
right
Brock
now.
Purdy. Like, come on.
Kyle Shanahan's scheme.
No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
Yeah.
this team was built for a deep playoff run. And then you go and look at the Eagles. I mean, yeah, they're young.
They have a
But
great team.
again,
too.
It's a
They're
young offense
built.
with an experienced defense.
Yes.
It's the perfect
I mean,
combination.
it's insane. I mean, AJ Brown, Smitty, Quez Watkins. You got Miles Sanders.
Dallas
Watkins-
Goedert.
And this is what I also say is like when you say obviously they're inexperienced, but all of these guys are due to it. Obviously was at a different level, but most of they played
In
in the
big games,
on the
yeah.
biggest stage in college too.
Yeah.
Like Jalen Hurts played in the national championship, Devonta Smith played in the national
Can we-
championship, like all stuff like
quick, can we talk about Alabama trying to claim Jalen Hurts now?
that. Mm.
I mean, how dumb is that? Y'all benched him for Tua.
I'm not.
He left and went to Oklahoma, and now you're trying to claim him again. Come on, man.
The only reason why I think they do have somewhat of a claim is because his degree is from the University of Alabama.
Here's what I'll say about the matter. I don't have a huge beef with it. I know what Bama fans are trying to do. Like, it's
Right.
a little
It's because-
overboard. But
No, it's because he's the best quarterback that would have
But-
come out of Alabama since
but why is Jalen Hurts?
when?
Which school deserves more credit for making Jalen Hurts the player he is?
Oklahoma.
He
Oklahoma.
improved so much as a passer at Oklahoma.
He
as
was able
compared
to put up better
Alabama.
numbers because he's in a Lincoln Riley offense.
He also developed his arm.
I will say-
his biggest
He looked
criticism is
way
he couldn't
better
throw the
at
ball.
Oklahoma.
Is that he couldn't throw the
But
ball at
I think-
Alabama.
I
That was
think-
his biggest criticism.
I think one of the reasons why he threw the ball better was because he stayed that extra year and developed with I forgot the name of their quarterback coach that they brought in, but I remember them talking about it. One of the reasons he didn't transfer is because he knew he was going to have to sit out, and Alabama had just brought in a new quarterbacks coach, and he thought that could actually help him. So if they're trying to say that extra year development helped, I could see that a little bit. But at the end of the day, he still got drafted
out of Oklahoma.
So like I'm not saying it's horrible that Alabama takes some of the credit, like that's fine, but I think they're trying to take the credit mostly because
They won.
quarterback is the only position
Alabama
where Alabama does not have a good NFL
Right.
person.
And listen,
At every other position they have one of the best.
the only
probably.
other two Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL right now, Tua, who's had numerous head injuries, not had a great year health wise, and then you have Mac Jones, who's now labeled as the dirtiest player in the NFL.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see why you're trying to take Jalen Hurts, the guy who looks like a saint, acts like a saint, plays like an MVP. I could see why, but I just think it's dumb that all of a sudden
He wears hoodies to say "God bless everyone who hates on me." Like
yeah.
he's the first, like what are you even? You get like he's like that. That's the guy you want to be your role model for your school.
Yeah.
So I get
like
it.
Jalen. a lot.
So we know in the AFC who the two players are that are going to be the difference makers and the reason why their team wins. It's the quarterbacks, Mahomes and Burrow. I don't know if that's the case here in the NFC. And so I asked you guys, on each side of the ball or each team, who is that one player that's going to be the difference maker and the reason why that team can win this game?
That's so.
I know it's tough.
That's such a tough question.
I know it's tough.
I think for the Eagles, it is Jalen Hurts.
I mean, you can pick Jalen Hurts.
I think when he's on his game, he elevates that offense to another level. And that if that offense is elevated to that next level, that is how they're going to beat this 49ers or defense. I think it has to be Jalen Hurts.
See, I'm going to go with I'll pick the Niners, or I'll start with the Niners. I'm going to go George Kittle. And the reason I'm going George Kittle is because you look at Brock Purdy and you look what he's done. Look how George Kittle's production has increased since Brock Purdy's been in there. You know why? Because he's a veteran and he's a guy that Purdy can just find. I mean, look at that game against the Cowboys. The throw over the middle, the circus catch, I don't know if they win that game if George Kittle doesn't come down with that catch. I mean, it was juggling, diving for it, almost getting hit by Trayvon Diggs to knock it out, but holds on to it. And then they go down and score the touchdown. I don't know if they go down and score the touchdown. I don't know if they end up winning that game. George Kittle is Brock Purdy's safety valve. And when you have a rookie quarterback, especially one that's not as talented, let's be honest, Brock Purdy is not as talented as the other three quarterbacks currently in these championship games. He's going to have a really smart decision-making, and part of that decision-making is finding your safety valve. And what better safety valve than an experienced tight end who's really good after the catch, who's really good at, finding spaces to be open. I mean, that catch, that juggling catch, if you look, there are so many arguments on whether or not it was a illegal man downfield. But NFL or like the experts looked at it. He was off the ball. He was allowed to become a receiver at that point. And he was supposed to be blocking on that play. He releases his block when he sees that Purdy's in trouble. He just finds space over in the middle of the field and Purdy throws it to him. I mean, that is the type of player that this kind of offense needs and that kind of quarterback needs. And Kittle's going to be the difference because anytime that the Niners need a big play, it's either George Kittle or Deebo Samuel, I feel like, in the middle of it. And George Kittle, I just think the experience and being that safety valve is going to benefit them so much.
So I have to pick one player, just one player, because I really want to pick the Eagles' offensive line, just like in general.
Yeah, you can pick that.
Just because I feel like if they can run that's going to be the big thing. If they can consistently run the ball, they're going to win the game. That's the way I look at it. I think the way for the 49ers to win, obviously they have a great defense, great D-line, great front seven. If they shut down the running game and you force the Eagles to be one-dimensional and force Jalen Hurts to only be like a drop-back passer and stuff like that, instead of running more like the play-action stuff where you can, give the ball to Miles Sanders on first down and you're in 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 13, like the 49ers like to put guys in. So I think if the Eagles' offensive line can play well and can open up some hope. I mean, you saw last week Kenneth Gainwell and Miles Sanders. I think they combined for almost 200 yards or maybe over 200 yards.
Kenneth Gainwell had a great game.
So they I'm not expecting them to do that. Obviously not against this defense, but I think that's going to be the Eagles' run game. The offensive line is the most important part of that because let's be honest, when it comes to running backs, obviously you have to have some amount of skill. But you could put the best running back in the NFL behind a horrible offensive line, and they can only do so much. So I think it's going to come down to the Eagles' offensive line. Can they get some push against the 49ers?
I love that pick because 49ers front seven is what's been winning them games. It's what won them the game against Dallas. So my pick is going to be Fred Warner. I'm not taking Nick Bosa because I think the Eagles tackles will do a good job of making sure he doesn't have an insane impact on the game. But Fred Warner is going to be key in being a spy for Jalen Hurts because the 49ers have struggled a little bit with running quarterbacks. I know Hurts may not be 100% and may not want to run as much as he usually would. But if he's going to, it's going to be Fred Warner that's probably going to need to stop that. And in addition to that, the Eagles like to attack middle of the field with Dallas Goedert. They're very good at those kinds of throws, Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. So Fred Warner, we saw what he did last week in the middle of the field in coverage. He's going to have to step up again. So if the 49ers are going to win, I think it's because Fred Warner is going to have a big game.
Okay, I like that. I like that pick. But I still think for the 49ers, I think their most important player has to be an offensive player, to me. Now, because
I think if this game turns into a track meet, the Niners don't really stand a chance.
Well, what I'm saying is, I think that their defense as a whole, I think their defense as a whole is going to be good. I think they're going to be fine. But they need somebody on offense. That's why I'm gonna go with Deebo, because I was just looking at these stats. The 2 games he's had with a young quarterback, you got to have a guy that can catch and run, right? He has 178 yards in the playoffs, 139 yards after the catch.
Oh, he's a yak monster.
So I think that's why I think he's going to be the big. I think not to say that Fred Warner is important and all that. Like, I think he's important too. I just feel like it's going to come down to their offense. Like, they have to have one guy that can like just make one big play and like bust the game open, because they got to find a way to score points.
I think that's only the case though if they fall behind, and if the Eagles
That's
are
true.
able to have offensive momentum. And my Eagles player would be AJ Brown, by the way. I think there's a chance he could have like 170 yards in this game.
If I'm my Eagles, I think I'm going to go with a group. I'm going to go with the Eagles secondary. Specifically, I'll specifically say Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson, because if you look at Brock Purdy, yeah, we've talked about his decision-making, not turning the ball over a lot, but he throws a very uncatchable ball for defenses. Trayvon Diggs had a dropped interception that probably would have won them the game on that touchdown drive. It would have kept that touchdown off and gave
a lot more close,
gave the Cowboys the ball back. And he's thrown a lot of these kind of balls where they've hit defenders in the hands and just dropped. And he's a young quarterback. He's gonna make mistakes. He's not perfect. His decision making's been really, really good, especially for a third string quarterback who was just kind of thrust into that starting role and is now in the playoffs for the first time. If the Eagles are going to win this game, they're going to have to capitalize on those mistakes, and especially the secondary going to have to capitalize on those mistakes, because he's going to throw it. I know he is. I know he's going to accidentally throw one. You saw it against the 49 or against the Seahawks too in the wild card round. He in that first quarter, that first half, really, he was not good. His accuracy was really off. He was throwing, overthrowing his wide receivers, underthrowing his wide receivers, throwing left, throwing right, hitting the Seahawks in the hands, and they just couldn't capitalize on it. If he throws one to one of those cornerbacks or safeties for the Eagles, they better make the best of that opportunity, catch it, and get the ball back, because you don't want to give that offense a second chance, because if they make one mistake, they're more than likely not going to make it again on that same drive.
Turnover battle is going to be a big one, or like a big factor in this game. So whoever wins that's going to probably win the game.
So for the Eagles, I'm going to say that secondary, because they're going to have to play a really good game, and they got a really big challenge, especially with Kittle and with Debo and Ayuk, who has a really good connection with Purdy, and then CMC out of the backfield, and all those other weapons that they can throw out there. Juwan Jennings on third down, which I think he's like the greatest third down wide receiver that we've ever seen.
I'm pretty sure he has 35 catches on the season, including postseason, and 19 are third down conversions.
Yeah, that's
incredible.
Insane. So give me the Eagles secondary. They're gonna have to be really big and capitalize on those young quarterback mistakes.
Yeah, I've got to pick the Niners running backs, either McCaffrey or Mitchell. If McCaffrey's not able to go, then Mitchell. If they're both able to go, then both of them.
McCaffrey's.
I hope so.
I assume he will.
He's gonna have to, man.
Like, I guess this is his first chance to go to the Super Bowl, but like, come on, dude.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
he wasn't part of that Panthers team.
Oh, he wasn't.
He's drafted 2 years after that.
Dude, that's crazy. For some reason I felt like he was, but I guess that makes sense. So yeah, his first chance to go to the Super Bowl. So go for it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be the difference makers. Brock Purdy, like you said, during that first half was not really in the first half of that Seahawks game was not really hitting his receivers. He was off target a lot. When that happens, you want to rely on your run game, and if McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell can make things happen on the ground, you take some of that pressure off your rookie quarterback playing in his, it's kind of obvious to say, but in his first championship game. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for Mr. Irrelevant to get in there and have to deal with, even with all these weapons and this great offensive line and this mastermind coach. That's a lot of pressure to deal with. So if they can lean into that running game a little bit, take some of the pressure off of Purdy, I think it could go a long way in getting the 49ers to win.
Yeah. All right. Picks. I'm going to do picks.
Yep.
I'll start. I'm going with 49ers. The reason I'm going with 49ers is the defense, more than likely. They've been so good at getting a really hot start on defense, slowing teams down early. And it gives Brock Purdy and it gives that offense enough time to go up there and get a little bit of a lead, whether it's, a touchdown, 10 points, whatever. I don't know if Jalen Hurts and the inexperience of that Eagles offense is going to be, because you look at this defense with guys like Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, their secondary, very, very experienced playoff team on that defense. Kind of the same with the Eagles defense, but not. I think a little more experience on that 49ers. They were just there, what,
Mhm.
3 years ago?
Yeah, and they were in this game last year.
And they were in this game last year, exactly. So I think that their defense is going to give them a chance, or give the offense a chance to get up early, and then it's going to be a play from behind game from the Eagles. But I will not be surprised if the Eagles win this game. I won't be
No.
surprised. But I think I'm going to go 49ers just because of that defense.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. If Hurts has over 75 rushing yards, I think the Eagles win. And if Purdy has a bad turnover, I think the Eagles win. But I have no reason to doubt him so far. And as Joseph said, this defense has continued to be dominant and even more dominant. I'm taking the 49ers, taking the road team to get the win and go to the Super Bowl. I just think they've been so good, and let's keep it rolling.
They have been good. And it is kind of crazy because a couple weeks ago, I said that I thought the 49ers were going to go to the Super Bowl. But I've kind of switched. I've definitely switched. I think that playing the Eagles on the road with a rookie quarterback, as good as Brock Purdy has been, I just feel like that's such a tough situation to go into, especially when you're not even the guy who came from one of those teams that's playing in the college football playoff and stuff. This is, I mean, by far the biggest game of your life, not even close. Like, you haven't even been in anything like this. And, you know, on the other side, obviously, it's still the biggest game of Jalen Hurts' life. But we've seen him play in other games like this, even though it wasn't college. And I don't know. It's like the defenses are both really good. And I think the 49ers probably do have an edge on defense. But I just feel like with Jalen Hurts and like the weapons, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, the running game they have, I just feel like they have a better offense. And I think at the end of the day, when both of those defenses are pretty even, I think that's going to take them over the top.
Riley?
Yeah, I'm riding with Bryson for the exact same reason. I think this is the prove it moment for Brock Purdy. This is where he says, I deserve to be here. If he can go into Philly and win a playoff game,
then he should be the starter next year.
Yeah, no question.
I think
at the very least, you should go into the off season. Yeah, a conversation for another time. But this is going to be the moment where Brock Purdy proves that he is the guy, that he deserves to be there. He deserves to be, you know, a Super Bowl quarterback. If you can go into Philly and beat a tough Eagles defense in Philly, I think he deserves it. But he hadn't proved it to me yet. So I'm going with Philly.
He hasn't proved it to you yet?
No.
Brock Purdy
should have proved everything to you as a Mr. Irrelevant.
Okay, Brock Purdy. It came out. It came out yesterday that of the NFL Honors Awards. So offensive rookie, defensive rookie, MVP, all those, all those awards. Brock Purdy was in there, and a lot of people were outraged because, hey, he hasn't even played the full season. You know, he's only played,
he deserves
6 games or whatever. But if you take his stats in those 6 games or whatever he played in the regular season, he was like on pace for like over 4,000 yards, almost 30 touchdowns, only like 7 interceptions or something like that. And like a passer rating of like 102 or something like that. He played phenomenal. Yeah, he's been benefited by his system. He's been benefited by weapons, but he's still got to go out there and throw the ball. I mean, he's still actually doing this stuff.
Right.
And so, he's, people are criticizing because he hasn't made that big mistake yet. And I'm with Jack. I have no reason not to say he's going to make that mistake in this game just because he's on the road in the playoffs. Yeah. Probably you
don't really have any reason to trust him to do everything perfectly, though, either.
Well,
yes,
I have more reason to trust him to not make a mistake than I have more reason to distrust him.
Of all times, of every game he's played so far, this is the one where you would make a mistake.
That's what they were saying last week. It's the same old song and dance every week.
He's
never faced a defense like the Cowboys.
I get they've been at home.
He's never had a road playoff game. Oh, it's the Eagles. Like, when are we going to stop? Like,
when he wins this game.
No, but then it's going to be he's going to play Burrow or Mahomes.
He's not going to be able to beat Burrow.
Never.
But you were just talking about how it doesn't have anything to do with the quarterbacks matching up. This is about Brock Purdy. This is not about playing Burrow or Mahomes or playing Jalen Hurts. No, but that's going to be the
storyline is what we're saying.
That's not why I'm picking against Purdy. It's not because he's playing against Jalen Hurts.
No, but you're saying that the reason you're not going with Purdy is because you can't trust him because he's never been in this moment.
He hasn't proved it to me yet.
But that's insane.
That's Jalen Hurts?
Listen, Yeah, what about Jalen Hurts?
No, Jalen Hurts hasn't either. But I think top to bottom, you're playing with a better roster with the Eagles.
That's preposterous. The
I don't
49ers
think
definitely have a
crazy.
better
I
roster.
don't. think
That's
preposterous.
crazy.
I don't think that's crazy.
I think it's close.
I am still giving it the Niners, man. I
Yeah.
mean,
I feel like the Niners defense, like I said, I think the Niners defense is a little bit better. But
The only reason I would take the Eagles is if I really thought that Brock Purdy or someone on the 49ers was going to make a terrible mistake and they were going to have some bad turnovers.
And there have
like
been-
a
there
muffed
have been-
punt, by the way, which they
there have been very
Fumbled on a
it's
punt
been
return, right?
very close. Purdy's been
He
very
has-
close to making those mistakes, but he's gotten bailed out by defensive backs dropping the ball. That was your whole point earlier. That's
yeah,
what
but
you were
he
saying
also
earlier.
makes those third down throws just as
You were
much as
saying
he
it,
makes.
you were saying that if the 49ers defensive backs make the plays on the ball that Purdy gives up. You were the one saying that earlier.
get that.
Purdy gives up these plays that are big
Not all-
turnover
no,
worthy
I'm saying-
he's
plays.
I
made
didn't
more
say-
big plays.
I didn't say
than he
all the
has
time. I said
near mistakes.
You also didn't hear me when I said, yeah, anytime he does do that and they don't capitalize, guess what? He comes back and he plays perfectly. Every
Yeah, yeah.
time. He
But
bounces
what
back
happens
perfectly.
if they don't just drop the ball?
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
So you have no reason to think
The
all right, so
Eagles-
what-
yeah.
when he does that and he loses his whole confidence and he loses his whole demeanor and they have to rely on the run and then the Eagles crash down on the run, what do you do then?
You throw the ball to George Kittle like he's done all year long. That safety valve, man. I told you. That safety valve.
Look, can I just say I'm really excited for this game.
Yeah,
I'm
this-
I'm
okay,
excited
which-
for
hold
both
up.
of these games.
Which game?
This one.
Okay, yeah.
No,
You already know.
Cincy,
Which
KC.
game's going to be better?
This one.
Cincy KC.
I'm going NFC Championship game.
That's so tough to say.
I like defense. I think it's fun.
I'm picking AFC.
Well, this game has defense and offense. That's the
I know,
thing.
yeah.
This has both. I don't think you're going to get a lot of defense in the KC.
We were just talking
Chiefs
about
game.
how underrated the Bengals
True,
defense is.
True, but you're
That's
telling me
true.
you're taking the Bengals defense over either the
No,
49ers or the
No,
Philly?
nobody
No,
said
no,
nobody
nobody
said that.
You're
Nobody
putting words
said
I'm
that,
just
in my mouth.
saying.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Let's slow down, buddy. Okay. Nobody said that. Okay. I'm gonna pick this game. I'm
Yeah.
picking the AFC.
Yeah, I'm picking NFC.
He just wants to
Championship.
see Mahomes
Also,
and Burrow.
There's
Mahomes
no
and Burrow, yeah.
there's no winners and losers this week. The only winners are us for getting to watch these games because it's gonna be awesome.
Amen.
Hope you guys have some buffalo chicken dip.
Unless they suck.
Buffalo
Rotel.
chicken.
Unless they're terrible. All right,
What are you eating?
Lame.
hold up.
Lame.
Real quick. Let's do our locks. 3 locks for the
Riley
weekend.
has them all.
I'll
I do have
start.
them all.
I don't even remember what I
I'll
told
start. I have mine. Okay, so first, I'm going to take the over in San Francisco, Philly.
Boo.
And I get Jack doesn't want that because defensive games, but the over's at 46. That's 23 points a team. You could still have a ton of defense
Oh, yeah.
with 23 points a team.
27-20.
I'm thinking of like a 27-24, 24-20, 3, something crazy like that.
No
that's
more
like
19
right
to
there.
12s.
Yeah, no more crappy field goal.
27-10.
All right, we're gonna have some touchdowns in this game, so give me the over. I'm also taking Jalen Hurts over in this game at 46.5 rushing yards. I think he'll have about 50, just because, like you said, they've struggled against running quarterbacks. I think Hurts is finally like getting back to that fully healthy where he's going to be able to use his legs a lot more. Plus, I think he's going to need to, because I think that the defensive line for the Niners is going to get pressure. Maybe not all the time, but they're going to get pressure, and they're going to have to force him to use his legs. And he's really good at that. And then I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to go Hayden Hurst over 30.5 receiving yards. He's had over 45 in both playoff games so far. Like I said, he is a secret weapon for that Bengals offense, because all the attention is on those 3-star wide receivers. And Hayden Hurst kind of gets forgot about, and he's going to be able to sneak past. And the Chiefs defense isn't great. They're not the best in the league. So give me Hayden Hurst.
All right. I'm going to go under on Jalen Hurts passing yards because I think that game will be low scoring, and it's 250. So I'm going under 250 Jalen Hurts passing yards. Going over on the Travis Kelce yards total was at 78.5.
Yep.
All right, I'm going over. And then also, I think A.J. Brown's got a big game in store against the Niners, and I'm going over on his prop. What is that number?
78.5.
Same thing. Okay.
Also-
Against that, that 38-point win against the Giants, he only had 156 passing yards.
There you go.
Jalen Hurts. So they can
Interesting.
still score points when he's not, throwing the ball
Right.
deep. So
Yeah, for me, I'm going with Kansas City -1.5. They're at home. I think the fact that I got a Kansas City at home lone wolf is ridiculous. I know it's the AFC Championship.
listen, the line was too tight for me. to make one. It was too tight. If it was like, like 5, 6
I'm talking
points,
about the
sure.
straight up picks too, though. That I was the only person to pick the Chiefs at home. Like that did shock me. I knew somebody was going to pick the Bengals, but I didn't think I was going to be the only one. But I'm also going to go with Miles Sanders over 49.5 rushing yards. Even though the 49ers do have a good rush defense, the Eagles are definitely going to prioritize that run game, so he's going to get a lot of carries. And then I'm going with the Jamar Chase over at 83.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to have a big game. He's the best player on that offense outside of Joe Burrow. Best weapon for him, and I think that's going to be the biggest connection for the entire game, and it's going to be a shootout. So I think both teams are going to score a lot of points.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the player props have been treating me well. Went perfect last week, so I'm going to go with some more player props. Got Hayden Hurst over 3.5 receptions. Isaiah Pacheco over 48.5 yards rushing. And Christian McCaffrey, anytime tutty, if he's able to go. If he's not able to go, I'll just switch that over to Elijah Mitchell. Get him anytime rushing tutty. So, yeah.
It's going to be a fun weekend.
Good football.
Great fun weekend. I'm excited to watch these games as you've listened to another edition of the Cover 4 podcast here, presented by WTK's Rock Solid Sports. Guys, almost 1 week away from, or 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl. So
Very exciting.
Yeah.
We'll get it. For Bryson, Riley, Jack, I'm Joseph. So long.